Guys, thanks for tuning in. My name's Paul Smith. I'm hosting my second ever AMA. We're gonna wait for Instagram to go ahead and pop up real quick, but we'll be live on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all that fun stuff. Man, we got a lot of shit to talk about, man. There's a lot of things happening right now. That's you know, a lot of fun, a lot of fun things happening out in the world right now. So we'll see. Feel free if you have any questions. If you want to, like, again, this is an AMA. Feel free to ask me anything. But we're going to talk about everything from what's happening on with the latest CPI data to what's happening in the real estate market, what's happening in the overall economy, what's happening in Austin. Man, different things I'm hearing for South by this year. Looking forward to chat with everybody, man. At the same time, too, if anybody has any questions, again, this is an AMA. Feel free to hit me up. Um, again, we'll be talking about real estate, kind of let everybody kind of funnel in. Also, we're live on X, we're live on Twitch, we're live on YouTube. So looking forward to this one, man. First things first, real quickly, I'm going to ask y'all something. Does anybody know what CPI means? You hear a lot of stuff that goes on right now with CPI, or what's called the Consumer Price Index. Basically, the Consumer Price Index is a basket of goods that that the government uses to see kind of where inflation's at, right? And so part of that is energy, housing, food. Uh, what's up on air? Your question here is, do you do rental real estate? Man, I definitely own a bunch of rental properties in real estate. I wouldn't necessarily be the person to help you find a place for lease, but at 12 Rivers, we have 42 agents now, so we can certainly help you find a place if that's something you're looking for. Feel free to hit me up in my DMs, and I can happily sort you out with an agent. 100%. Again, guys, we're talking about CPI, right? So this is the Consumer Price Index. It's the yeah, bro, would love to friend wants to look at rental houses in Austin. Would love to help him out, man. Please hit me up in my DMs, and my social media manager will respond back and get them sorted out, man. Would love to help anybody. We're talking about today is the market, talk about the Austin market. We also got South by coming in. Koyo, what's up? I see you, man. Guys, if you get a chance to go hit up Koyo at Sneaker Politics. That is the kick shop. That's where I get all my kicks in Austin. Great people doing great things in the community as well, man. So salute. Consumer Price Index, y'all. So basically, it's a basket of goods. For example, food, energy, a bunch of food, energy, housing are the main three things. And as those prices go up, essentially what the government's looking for is what's called inflation, right? You're hearing a lot of things. 2 summers ago, inflation was at 9%, which is crazy. Fun fact: I was in Rome a couple of years ago and was talking to a historian that was giving us a tour around old Rome, and I was like, "Man, what happened to Rome? Why did it fall?" And she said inflation got too high, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think that that was the thing. And so all of a sudden now here we are as a government that has, or as a country that had 9% inflation. And if inflation was the thing that made Rome fall, man, I feel like Rome had a little bit better of a structure than we did. So, anyways, that's why it's so important for the Fed to reduce inflation, because at the end of the day, if inflation is at 9%, that means your cheeseburger costs 9% more next year, and that's just something that's not sustainable, because essentially our employment and our salaries are not going up 9% a year. Shit, they might go up 9% every couple of years at most, but historically it's 2 to 3% at best, right? So what that means is if inflation is too high, it means that things are just too unaffordable. And you can see that now, right? With where salaries are versus rental rates versus sale price and stuff like that. Unaffordability is at an all-time high. Well, a way for the government to try to abate that is by what's called quantitative tightening, which means that they're actually pulling money out of the market by raising the interest rate. So that's what you see right now is you have historically high interest, well, not historically high, you have high interest rates compared to what it was a couple of years ago. Historically high interest rates would be what you saw in the 70s and 80s when interest rates hit up to 18%, which is just absolutely bananas. Right now, you'll see interest rates on homes at that like 6 to 7% range, which historically is actually average. So as part of what we're going to be talking about today is CPI. Man, we could even talk about Doge and what Elon's doing and how kind of crazy that is to just go in there and literally just start start telling government start telling people that work in the government that they don't have jobs anymore is ridiculous considering most people work for the government because of the job stability. And so I'm just thinking about a lot of those families as well that have historically worked and made less money because they work for the government. However, it's a very safe job. And so a lot of times people will trade the ability to raise more so that way there they have safety and they have structure. So I just can't even imagine what what they're going through right now. Crime, what's up, man? Ray, hope you've been well. Thanks for jumping in, guys. We have a an AMA going on right now. This is my second one. We're talking about the Austin market, talking about what South by Southwest coming up. I don't know if anybody's going to be flying in. We've already got John Summit confirmed with the Rolling Stones party. I've got DJs and artists hitting me up left and right, asking what I'm doing. Man, I'm still keeping that under wraps as far as right now. Not ready to announce anything yet, but we'll see what happens. Um, yeah, man, the Austin market right now is going crazy. And I feel like you hear a lot of people talk that, but I think essentially people have come to terms with the fact that interest rates are not going to drop. And also at the same time, people are realizing that, as they're having life events, they need to move. And so regardless of what's happening within the interest rate world, people need to buy and or sell homes. Man, somebody just messaged me asking if I work with first-time home buyers. Traditionally, I don't necessarily work with first-time home buyers. I'm happy to help coach up first-time home buyers, but at the same time, I'm happy to refer you to an agent that does work with first-time home buyers. It's just at this point in time, I'm working with a lot more developers and stuff like that. But if you are looking to buy a home, feel free to hit me in my DMs, and I've got several agents on my team that would love to work with you. And I'm just one phone call away as far as that goes. Let's see. What's an up and coming area for someone looking to buy their first home? Man, what part of town do you work in? What part of town do you hang out in? Well, those are questions that I would typically ask somebody is it's not just about where you should buy. If you look at real estate as an investment, which I do, then I would look to buy at an area where there's a large influx of jobs. And then also depending on your price point and whatnot, that's going to depend on what part of town I would suggest you move into. Right. For example, if you're looking in a 300 to $500,000 price point and you work, say, downtown or the Domain, I would tell you to probably buy something either in Northeast Austin or all the way out to maybe Austin's Colony, depending on jobs. Reason for that is because to me, that's the area that has the highest percentage of appreciation and potential cash flow in Austin. And a lot of that is because if you look at price and say rental rates do not go up at the same time, right? So you might find a neighborhood that has homes that are going to sell for 300 to 500,000 that might lease out for 2,500 to 3,500 a month. But then you'll have homes that sell for 700,000 that might only lease out for say 4,000 a month, right? And so that's what's called a gross rent multiplier. So that's the percentage or the ratio of your rent to your mortgage price. And so, um, to me, if I was a first-time home buyer looking to buy in that 3 to 500 price point, I would probably look out towards Southeast Austin to Austin's Colony. If I was looking to be in some of the bedroom communities, I would look at Cedar Park. I'd look at Leander, maybe Kyle. But really, I like if you're also now starting to take in consideration schools and everything else. I really like the Northwest corridor. Anything up 183A to me has a better investment long term. And again, if this is your first home, what you're trying to do is you're trying to set yourself up for that next jump, right? So anybody that's buying a first time, buying for the first time, they're typically looking for like a 2 to 7 year window on average. If it were me and I was a single person looking to buy a home, I would look to buy a home probably every 2 years, right? Because the dope thing is that if you buy a home and you buy it right, and guys, by the way, you make your money when you buy in real estate, right? So what does that mean? That means if I'm finding a property that would appraise for 350,000, but I found somebody that really needed to sell, so I bought it for 300. That means that I've just increased my personal net worth by 50,000. Now, let's model that out over 2 years, right? So over the next 2 years, if I'm a single person, I buy that property and I'm in it, I've got $50,000 in equity out the jump because I bought it for 300, but it was worth 350. And then let's say it appreciates roughly 5% a year over the next 2 years, right? So that 350 property after 5% just appreciated at about 17.5 roughly. So now my 50,000 in equity just turned into 67,500. Now let's say I'm going to go ahead and live it in another year, right? So now it's going to appreciate roughly another 15,000. So in that case, my 50,000 that I had with my initial equity, and now I've lived in it 2 years, and at a average of 5% appreciation at that point, I've increased by my net worth by another 30,000. So in the course of that time, let's say let's say fuck, I did this. I was 26 when I bought my first home, right? And so I bought my first home. It was significantly less than 300,000 because back in 2006 in Austin, you could buy homes for 100. But let's model this out real quickly, right? So as a single person, if I bought this home for 350, but it's actually or it's worth 350, but I was able to get a good deal and I bought it at 300, now my net worth just increased by 50,000. Now at the same time, I'm going to have to pay rent or live someplace. So over the next 2 years, if it appreciates 5% a year, roughly, that means that I've just increased my net worth 80,000 over the course of those 2 years. So when I go ahead and sell that home, let's say now I sell it for roughly 400. At that point, I sell it for 400,000. I'm going to pay commissions and everything else. Let's say approximately 20K there. Now I've got a valuation of, coming back to me roughly of 380,000 and I bought it for 300. The nice thing is if I lived in a home 2 out of the past 5 years, I can take those funds tax free. Now that's tax free up to a $250,000 gain if I'm single, up to 500,000 if I'm married. So now I've had to live someplace and I just increased my net worth 80K. So let's say as a 26-year-old you do that. And then let's say you take that 80K and you roll that into let's call it a $500,000 home, right? So now you're moving up. You're 28-year-old now living in a $500,000 neighborhood. And then at the same time, again, we make our money when we buy. Remember that, guys, is you make your money when you buy. And so if I'm making my money when I purchase, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look for a neighborhood. Let's say now my price point is that 5 to 600. I've got a substantially bigger down payment at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and put that money down. Now, let's roll it again. Let's say I find a home that's 600,000 valuation and I end up getting it for about let's say I get it for 550. Model that out again, right? So at the end now, when I'm 28, now when I'm 30, I'm sitting on about $300,000 in equity that I'm going to then be able to go ahead and roll into something else. So I got a question here. I've always been told putting 20% down minimum is better, but curious about your thoughts with avoiding PMI. Man, I think that's a great question. I am a fan of it's not about owning property, it's about controlling property. So for me, now, again, this is up to you. But if I'm looking to purchase a property and I'm going to live in it, let's say it's owner occupied, the dope thing about PMI is that you can have your PMI drop off, right? So let's say you want to put, let's say hypothetically it's $1 million home, or let's go less. Let's say it's a $500,000 home, and instead of putting down 100, you put down 50, right? So now you're 10%. And let's say your MI or your PMI, which stands for primary mortgage insurance, is going to be let's call it $300 a month. So that's 3,600 a year. And for you to not have to pay PMI, you'd have to put down another 50,000. Right. Also, on top of that, your payment will be a little bit less, of course. Right. So you'll be saving some money as far as your monthly goes. But having said that, you'll have the ability to take that 50K instead of putting it in your home. You can then use it and go invest it in something else, basically. So in that case, after 2 years, right, if assuming that your appraisal is at 78% of value, right? So let's say you buy something for 500, you put 10% down, so you've got a mortgage for 450, right? So you're already at 10%. Your home only needs to appreciate roughly 12% more, and you can get a new appraisal, assuming that you're in good standing and your MI drops off. So that's dope, right? So then your mortgage insurance drops off, but then you have that other 50,000 instead of putting it into your home, you could take it and then go invest. And at the end of the day, man, if we can't make more than let's call it 10% on our money, we shouldn't be the ones investing our money, right? Like if you can't make more than 10%, give it to somebody else and have them invest it because they should be able to make more for you. But when it comes to real estate, when you include things like cash flow, when you include things like equity capture, when you include things like principal reduction, interest write off, all the write offs that you get with investment real estate, depreciation. When you add all those things up, it better at least be 10%, if not more. Ideally, I like to shoot for 15 to 20% for my own investments. Some of the stuff I've been getting into recently is 30% cash on cash return, not even including things like equity capture and all that other stuff. But having said that, those to me are the things that you should be working for. I do think it is it's certainly our parents' generation, but the generation before our parents, which would be baby boomers, what they call the baby boomers are the children of what they call the greatest generation of all time, which went through the Great Depression. They were very risk averse, whereas now people are very risk on. Man, we got the Corazon team up in here, man. I better tighten up and not say the wrong damn thing. How's it going, gal? Okay, how much do you typically see people put down when they buy a house? I know it can vary. Man, that's a great question. I think that really does vary based on your situation. I don't necessarily think that you need to put down 20%. Again, it's going to depend on your liquidity situation. I wouldn't say I need to save 20% before I buy a home if that prevents you from buying a home. Now, again, all this is predicated on what's going on with your financial situation. But again, if you're looking to purchase a home, what up? If you're looking to purchase a home and you have a thought that you need to have at least 20% down to buy that home, if it's going to take you another 2 years to save up that 20% or even that 10%, let's say you got 10% now and you want to save up to put another 10% down, Austin real estate appreciates 5.7% a year historically, right? So if you're looking at a $500,000 home, that let's say it's 5%, that's going to be that home next year in theory will cost you 25,000 more. Well, if it's going to take you 2 years to save up that additional 10% to put down, net net, you actually just cost yourself significantly more money. Now, again, guys, everything is going to be up to your situation, but I do think that it is easy to get caught up in the I need to have more money down. But again, I'm coming from a guy in real estate who does development, so I'm very risk on in a lot of ways. I'm not saying go put all your money in Bitcoin risk on, but what I am saying is that don't let a substantial down payment be the reason why you don't buy a home. Because if you're currently leasing right now, you're just throwing that money away. So I would suggest um, yeah, again, it's up to you. Now, investment real estate, that's a little bit different. Typically, with investment real estate, you're going to need anything from 20, 25, 30, 40% down, depending on the type of investment. We're doing some development deals right now that we're able to buy with 10% down, which is dope. So I've got one deal, we got a video coming out on it where the all-in cost to build with the dirt is 1 million, and we've got a bank that'll fund that with 10% down. So literally it's $100,000 to start that construction and finish that construction. And on the exit, we're looking at an exit of about 135. So when you include all the closing costs and whatnot, the net to the developer is 1.25, and then you've got less your holding costs and your construction cost, means that they're making about 200,000 on a $100,000 investment, which is a 2x or 200% rate of return, and it's passive income to them because we're the ones that are running this deal. So again, if I would be like, hey man, let me give you 100 and you give me back 200 and it's backed by real estate and I don't have to do shit, like take my money. That's kind of where we're at with that. So yeah, so that's one deal that we have right now. And the great thing about that is it's in an opportunity zone. And so those that don't know about opportunity zones, back during the Obama administration, they instilled where corporations can invest in underprivileged areas, and they can invest money in these areas. And essentially, you could take it. And the dope thing is that if you have it can be a corporate gain or a capital gain that you have on stocks, business sales. It can really be a capital gain on anything. It doesn't have to just be real estate. And instead of paying the government whatever that tax amount would be, you can take that same amount and then invest it in an opportunity zone. And it ends up essentially being an interest-free loan from the government for the next 2 years. It was 10, but there's 2 years left on it. So an interest-free loan from the government for the next 2 years on the taxes that you would have paid the government that you can now invest that in real estate. So tell you, I've got a client of mine right now. He had a very substantial tax bill And instead of paying a portion of that tax bill, he ended up taking that money and putting it in an op zone and ended up building several new construction properties. And so, without giving the exact numbers, let's say he's into the whole thing for roughly 10 million, right? So he deferred 10 million in taxes. Well, his cost into it is 10 million, but his valuation is 13. So he just made 3 million in cap gains improvement based on just building in a year with government money, not even his money, is money that he had to pay the government anyways, right? So he's able to defer that. And then the real dope thing about that is at the end of 10 years, assuming you follow everything, he's going to be able to then go ahead and sell that at, let's say, if real estate in Austin doubles every 10 years, which historically it does, he'll be able to sell that 1.3 property for 2.6, which means that he's got a 1.6 gain. And now if you multiply that 10, he's got a $16 million gain that he will then be able to take tax-free in 10 years, assuming he does everything right with his with setting up the opportunity zone and everything else, which we have attorneys that are running that stuff for us now. But if you think about that, there's nothing else in the tax code that allows you to take money off the table tax-free. There's even like 1031 with stipulations, stuff like that. Let's see. So we got remember a couple agents told me that if the house was built in the 80s versus current times, that you'll have less issues because the build quality is a lot cheaper nowadays, especially in Easton. Thinking about Easton Park is my guess. Man, what's funny is that the old adage, they don't make them like they used to. I always feel like that was like with cars from 1950s and like appliances from the 60s and stuff like that. But there's always going to be things that break down in homes. And so if you look at there's depreciation in homes, and then there's also something called the cost segregation study, which I'll talk about as well. But when you start talking about depreciation, when you buy an investment property, you can depreciate your investment property 127 and a half, basically as a percentage over the course of time, right? And so that's depreciation. So if you've got a property that you're going to depreciate, let's say it's worth 100,000. This is easy math, but let's just say it's worth 100,000. You can depreciate that 127th and a half a year, right? So let's go multiply that times 0.0275. Got math over here, y'all. Right, so that's $3,600. So you're taking depreciation of $3,600 a year. And so that literally off of the money that you take from that property, you could take another $3,600 off that $100,000 property that you depreciate. And if you've received rental income, that basically will negate some rental income there. And so if you're at 3,600, let's say you're in the 40% tax bracket, technically you'd owe $1,400 on that income. Well, that subsidizes that there, right? So on a monthly basis divided by 12, that's $120 a month that you're saving in what you would be paying as income on that rental income because you're subsidizing it with depreciation at that point. And that's like monopoly money, honestly. It's not even real. It's just like, okay, this home is going to depreciate. So a home being built in the 80s versus a home being built now, there's so many other things that come into play there for me. And part of that also is like who built it, right? What's the type of materials that were used, stuff like that. Is it metal construction? Is it not? Stuff like that. But man, that's a great question. All great questions. Let me see what else do I got going on over there. Guys, again, this is Paul Smith. You're tuning into an AMA. Ask me anything. We're live on X. We're live on Twitch. If y'all have any questions regarding anything real estate related, finance related, shit, even crypto related, which is a bad time to be there. But there's a lot of chop going on in the market right now. But guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Yeah, man, Stan, thanks for asking those questions, bro. I appreciate you, dude. Hope you've been well. Man, it's crazy what's happening right now in the Austin market, specifically when you think about all the different companies that are moving here and all the different opportunities that we have. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Well, dude, yeah. So Stan says a lot of the Easton Park homes are so cheap. I just worry that the build quality is not there. So again, it's going to be builder specific, right? So you can go in a neighborhood that has, and by the way, no disrespect to anybody that has these type of homes. I'm just just spitting facts. But something like a what's up, Jay? Hope you've been well, man. You can have something like a DR Horton home, which is built maybe at like $150 a foot. And then you can have something like a Thomas Joseph home that's built at $450 a foot, right? And then everything in between. And so really it's not so much about the quality of the build. Well, it is about the quality of the builder, but it's also about the quality of the substance that's put into it. Man, unapologetically, yes. Have I worked with subleasing before? Um, Man, I have. I've only worked on subleasing where it's either like a tenant of mine wants to sublease, or in a situation where it's commercial subleasing, stuff like that. But don't necessarily work with folks that are doing subleasing. It's tough to get realtors involved on stuff like that because a lot of times that's going to be between the two principals, right? That's going to be between the landlord, and that's going to be between the landlord, and that's going to be between the tenant at that point as far as subleasing goes. So it's tough because for us as realtors, we'd have to be able to have some sort of a listing agreement signed that would enable us to go ahead and market that property. And so, yeah, typically for us would be like, look, if the tenant wanted to exit the lease, we'd have to have permission from the owner to allow that to happen. And then we'd be able to go ahead and move forward. But dude, I think, don't get me wrong, long term, I think Easton Park looks great, right? You're out by Tesla, you're in Southeast Austin. It's one of the areas where you can still continue to add lots of jobs in one of the hottest submarkets of Austin as well, which is industrial, right? You have a lot of, the installation or the building of Highway 130. Well, oh, you're welcome, bro. With the installation, oh, God, JP Morales in the house, by the way. If anybody's looking for the dopest photographer out there, that's my dude right there. Having said that, like if you're looking at where to invest or the best parts of Austin, to me, long term is that's Southeast Austin. Again, you have just with the invention of or the installation of Highway 130, you've got all this land that is now easy access by trucks, right? So if you don't know this, I-35 goes from Mexico all the way to Canada. It's the largest trucking route in the US. And so you have all of this product coming in from Mexico up into Austin. And so that's where it's going to disperse. It says, I'm not very handy, so buying turnkey home seems more ideal. But is it worth the risk of finding reliable contractors to fix up a home? Good idea. Uh, Man, it all depends on your if you're somebody that freaks out over little things, I'd probably say no. But really, it's like it's not that hard, assuming it's something that you've done before, right? If it's something that, or even if you haven't done it, just doing it one time, you realize it's really not that hard. Having said that, working with the right contractors is really important. I do think, though, the way to add a lot of value in real estate is by taking something, adding some value to it, whether it's a remodel, whether it's tearing it down and building, um, whether it's just doing something to it, taking something dilapidated and shining it up. That's a way to make money, right? And so there's a lot of money in distressed assets. And it's just because there's less buyers for them, right? That perfect home is going to have more buyers, which means that you're probably not going to get as good of a deal. If it's something where you're looking to increase your net worth, that's a possibility. I definitely have the people that can help you on those conversations as well. So if that's something you want to chat about, please feel free to hit me up. We've got tons of contractors that do all this stuff all the time. Yeah, me. Is there a good good go-to resource to find reliable contractors? Man, I work with a bunch of them. Feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to share my Rolodex with anybody as far as contractors that I work with. Absolutely. I think it's important to really find people that you trust that do good work. Absolutely. Man, we got Jorge in the house. Man, Jorge, hope you've been well, dude. I've seen photos of you and the family, dude. You're killing it out there, man. We're talking about the southeast corridor of Austin and all the different things that are happening out there. But one of the things that I think the state of Texas did that was really valuable is they enabled corporations to invest, maybe not even corporations, just companies and or people to invest in specific municipalities, right? So what Tesla did is they invested $60 million in the Del Valley School District. Well, shit. If you own 2,500 acres out in Southeast Texas or Southeast Austin, and unfortunately the Del Valley District wasn't necessarily the best school district, now you've bought all this land and you're making a capital investment in Del Valley, that means that the schools are going to get better. And now it means that his being Elon's employees are going to be able to purchase land in an area that is historically not as expensive as the rest of Austin. And the reason for that is one, because it's in the flight path. Two, the school districts haven't been well. Well, you're not going to necessarily move where the airport is. However, if you can make the schools better, I think that's going to be something that would be super attractive. Man, if you were in my position, obviously a big oh man, I appreciate that, bro. Uh man, so JP, who's, to me, he's the gold standard of real estate photography and videos out there, asked what I would do to help him get more business. What better way to find out than asking a great agent and businessman? Well, I appreciate that, dude. Obviously, I don't necessarily view myself as that, but what would I do if I were you? You know what? I would give me free photos and allow me to promote the shit out of you. No, I'm just kidding, man. I'd do that anyways. No, dude. For you, dude, I think that you're already doing it. I think that you are. Um, I think that you've got a great website. I mean, maybe even doing some like targeted ads, and really just the amount of real estate porn that you can create is pretty outstanding. I don't know if you guys get a chance, go check out JP Morales's website. The first home he has is just absolutely beautiful, and his photos are amazing. So, um, that's right, free photos for Paul. Love it. No, yeah, man, he's killing it. And so, if but here's the thing too, right? To me, you pay for what you get when it comes to everything, for the most part, right? And so then value is perception, and perception is value. So to me, I value great photos. I value great marketing, because I'm the type of person that if I put a product out there, I want it to be the best product that I can put out there. And some people, they'll take photos with their cell phones. That's just not me. So again, JP, I think you're already doing it, man. I think, um, it'd be interesting to see what percentage of the market you have, because I bet you it's probably pretty high already. So, maybe it's something where if you had I don't know if you'd want to do this, but maybe you wouldn't want to, actually, because again, let's like I don't see Bentley going out there trying to build a BMW or build an Accord, right? Like Bentley's out there building their product at a high level. So if for me, I wouldn't do anything other than what you're doing now. Just keep doing a great job and keep building relationships at the end of the day. Also, dude, if you want me to do some sort of a video with you, some sort of a testimonial, I'm down for that, bro. Would love to help out in any way I can. Guys, again, it's Paul Smith with 12 Rivers Realty doing an AMA, stands for Ask Me Anything. So far, we've answered a bunch of questions about investment real estate, best place to buy, helping businesses try to get more business. Obviously, promo code Paul Smith over at JP Morales doesn't work yet, but I got a feeling it's on the way. Other than that, yeah, man, what's everybody been up to? Yeah, dude, I'm not a fan of Google Ads, honestly, bro. I like the Instagram kind of pointed ads. Also with the intertwining of AI now, right? So you have what used to be called SEO, and then you also have I think it's called AEO now, right? So basically, instead of SEO, which is like if you're on Google, now with AI, it's because people are just asking Chat GPT and everything else, right? So that's going to be another way. Oh, we got 12 Rivers Realty in the house. Only been doing this for about 30 minutes, and they just shined on. Shout out to the company. What's up, fam? No, man, I'm just messing with you. Do you see housing prices going down, Austin, this following year? I'll get to you next on that one. Do I see housing prices going down in Austin the next following year? Man, I think that Austin prices have bottomed out, barring any kind of crazy event. I don't think that we're going to enter into some sort of a depressionary situation or a recession in the next year or two. After this, yeah, after this presidency, who knows what's going to happen after that? I don't think Trump is going to allow us to enter into something like that. Having said that, if he continues to pressure the Fed to lower interest rates, and that's going to spike inflation, at some point we're going to have to pay the piper on that. And the only way to do that is by raising interest rates. You can't just keep flooding the market with money. in lowering interest rates, which is great for business, by the way. Like real estate business will go through the roof if all of a sudden, I mean, dude, if they get interest rates down to 5%, JP, you won't even have to ask me those questions. You'll be so damn busy because there'll be that many people selling homes that you're going to be like, man, I need more. You're going to be like, Paul, screw real estate, get into photography. Let's go. You know what I mean? But having said that, like I don't see, if you look at market stats over the past 3 years and going back to May of 2022 and June of 2022, that's when technically the Austin market peaked based on the market stats. Our median income, or sorry, our median price was 550,000. Right, that's the median home in Austin sold for 550,000. Now that's down considerably from now, right? So now we're in the like 420 range, 450 range, somewhere in there for the median price, which is down substantial, right? That's down, let's say 10 to 15% from the peak. Now, the thing is, when you're talking about real estate prices and you look at, say, that August number versus a December number, homes in December and January typically sell for significantly less on a median price than they do in the summer. Well, why is that? Well, that's because typically in the summertime, you have larger homes that are trading because people like the school years out, and typically families that have kids have bigger homes, blah, 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 stuff like that, right? So it's tough to compare a January 2025 market stat to a peak in August, May and August of 2022. Whoever said that if you look at the market stats over the past 2 years from that peak, it was down, 10%, down 15%. Well, now it's started to go flat, and it's even started to come up a little bit. The median price was actually, I think, up 2%. So that to me leads me to believe that it's bottomed. The other thing too is there's a lot of pent-up demand in the Austin market right now. Especially there's a lot of people sitting on 2.5 to 4% interest rates that are just real cozy right now. I think the one thing though that you'll see is that as our market starts to hit saturation with rentals right now, so you have a lot of rentals that or rental prices are down considerably, and the reason for that is because there was so much building that happened from 2020 to 2022 where people were putting a bunch of things under contract and getting it permitted. Well, what that did is that took 2 years to be built, right? So all that product is delivering right now. In last year, we had 80,000 apartments built and delivered in the Austin MSA, but we went through 60,000 of them, right? So it absorbed 60,000. Well, guess what? This year coming up, we're not going to deliver that much. And so if we continue to have that level of absorption, we're going to end up really quickly into a situation where we need more apartments. And similar to 2009, 2010, dude, we had rental rates going up 20% a year, year over year, which is crazy. So again, if you're a renter right now, I do think that now is the time to buy because in the next year or 2 years, your rental rates are going to jump up considerably. And what does that mean? Well, if you can afford East Austin now, then you're going to end up in Easton Park. Then you're going to end up in Bastrop. If you don't buy at some point, you're going to get pushed out because again, when we started this, your your income is not going up proportionately to inflation. And so inflation includes housing, it includes food, it includes energy, right? It includes gas. And so as that continues to go up, you either need to buy and get a market snapshot of when you bought. Think about people that bought homes in the 80s. Shit. I'll do one further for you. Think about people that bought in Rainy Street in 2007, 2008. I spoke to somebody yesterday that bought two lots on Rainy Street for 2.5 million. Now, this dude now has a 55-story building on those lots, and it's over 200 and something million. That's a great investment, by the way. But if you were to try to buy that now, that wouldn't be something you could do for that price. Those lots are tens to 50 million, right? And so again, when you buy, that's what freezes you in to that price. And that's what freezes you into that neighborhood. Now, the only thing that can get adjusted at that point, assuming you're on a 30-year fix, your principal and interest are going to stay the same. Now, your taxes and your insurance, that's going to go up. However, it's not going to go up disproportionately at that point, right? Because then it's only going to go up, say, 1.5 to 2% of whatever your valuation on your home is. And at the same time, too, your valuation's going up. Oh, but by the way, your net worth is also going up. So yeah, do I see housing prices going down in Austin next following year? No, I don't. The other thing, the other caveat to that too is if you look at the amount of building permits that have been approved in the city of Austin since they've done the Homes One initiative, of the 130 building permits that were turned in, only 99 of them were approved. So that means that we only have 99 infill projects coming up currently that'll be delivering over the next year. At the peak, we had about 350 to 400. So I think there's going to be a need there. Oh, let's see. With the Core Zone team, I have a property at Canterbury and Chacon. Shout out. Love that neighborhood. Trying to decide whether to remodel or demo and build. Have owned it for 20 years. Got a 2-1, 950 square foot and a one garage apartment. 30s. WWPD. What would Paul do? I'm gonna get that tattooed. Well, I think we spoke about this actually, but this is what I would do. One, a couple things that I need to know first and foremost. What's the size of the lot? Are there any trees? Is it on a corner? Is there alley access? Right? Are there things that are going to make it so that way there you can't develop? Now, let's assume hypothetically that we're living in a vacuum and then there's nothing there, right? Let's assume that there's no trees, there's no there's no crazy power lines or anything. Make it so you can't build 17 feet off the power line, stuff like that. Let's just assume you can build. And then not necessarily sure. Oh, you've owned it for 20 years too. Shout out to you for having the wherewithal to buy that back then. By the way, that was brilliant. I would tear down and build for sure. And here's why: is because with the Homes One initiative now, instead of back in the day, you could build a, let's say it's your normal 7,000 square foot lot in East Austin. Typically, they're a little bit smaller, like 6,500 to 6,700. But I'm gonna go with 7,000 just because it's gonna make it so that, hey, 68, look at me. All right. One tree in the back of the property. But can you, in theory, could you have one coming off the alley and then one coming off of the front of the house? All right, let's assume the answer is yes. Okay, so then, and the great thing about that too, if you've got a home that's on an alley, right? I'll show you all right here, right? So your normal your normal lot that's going to be let's say your normal lot in East Austin is 50 by 150 roughly, right? And so you've got an alley here and you've got the street here. So what you would do is you could turn this home face the alley, you could turn this home face the street. And so the nice thing about that is what that does is that helps you get away from impervious cover issues. So with the new Homes One initiative, you're going to be able to build about 3,740 square feet. And so what I would do is I would really try to aim to build like a 2,100 square foot, 21 to let's say 2,300 square foot front house. That's like a 4-3 facing the front. And in the back, I would build a 1,600 square foot 3-3 facing the back, right? So your 21 to 2,200 square foot 4-3 that's facing the front is probably in that neighborhood going to sell for like 1.4 to 1.5. And then your back house that's going to be 1,600 square foot. Let's say that's going to sell for roughly, roughly a million, somewhere in that range, right? So now you're at 2.5 million in valuation. I don't know what your dirt cost was 20 years ago. Let's call it 250,000, but it's probably less than that. But I don't want to just be thoroughly upset at how much money you're about to make here, or proud of you, not upset, but proud of you. So let's say in that case, your lot cost is 250, and then let's say your build cost is going to be about another 250, right? So you're at 3740, means that your cost to build is 935,000. Let's say your cost of the land was 250,000, right? So now you're into this roughly easy numbers, 1, 2, and let's say your holding costs and everything else going to be about 60,000. So let's say you're 1.26 into this deal, and then you're going to exit. We said a million on the back, and then 1.5 on the front. Means that you're going to be into it for 2.5 million. Now you got some closing costs. You're an agent, so I'm not going to include that in there. Right. So let's say your exit cost is 4%, which means you're at 100,000, right? So you're at 2.5 exit less your 100,000 in closing costs, puts you at 2.4. Now we're going to do is we're going to minus your 2.6, means that your profit is 1,140,000 in the next 12 months. Now, shout out to the Core Zone team. I will say, if you got something else that you can make 1.1 million on in the next year, Let me know, but that's pretty good. Now you could turn that into a rental. You could condo it, sell one, keep the other one. Up to you. Christina, let me know if you think those numbers work, but I think that's back of the napkin math, probably pretty close to that. Maybe the front house sells for a little bit less, but I don't think it would. I do think the 250 a foot build cost is something that's probably pretty accurate right now, though. And with that, because you've got the alley access, you'd be able to make, the nice thing about the alley access is then that's going to live like like two single family homes versus a duplex, which is dope. So that's a great pickup. By the way, guys, shout out to Christina with the Corazon team, because she bought a home 20 years ago. She's been renting it this whole time. And now she has an asset that she could literally pledge the asset. She's not even gonna have to put more money into this. She could get this construction loan with her equity and make 1.1 million in 12 months. And if done right with the right team, which I know she has, even with her running the whole project, it shouldn't take her more than 50 hours to do that. So let's just run that math real quick. Divided by 50, that's 22,800 an hour. Yeah, I had figured in the financing options of about 60,000 in carrying cost in that, by the way. Yeah, so financing options, I'd call Brenham Bank, I'd call Guarantee Bank, Anthem Bank. Those are all banks that I'm working with right now that can do that pretty easily. But the amount of equity that you have, you shouldn't have to put any more money into that, and you can just go ahead and make that happen. Again, let's say that takes you 50 hours, which it shouldn't, but let's say it does. That's if you want to spend a lot of time on it, because you're not the builder. You're going to hire a builder. You're going to have an architect, all this stuff. But even if it's off 100 grand and you still make 1,050,000, that's still pretty solid. So congrats on that investment. And then the great thing about that too, Christina, if you model that out and you take that 1-1 in equity, or that 1-1 in net worth growth, and then you 1031 it, and then you 1031 that into, let's call it, three properties that are all 1 million each, right? And so you're doing 1 million each and three properties. You're putting 300,000 down in each property. You've now taken what you have as your asset that you have right now, which is it's a 950 square foot 2-1. It's, I don't know, what do you think, maybe like 750 to 1 million. You've taken that asset and then you've turned that into 3 million in real estate in that time frame, which is pretty great. And so then if you model that out over 5 years in that 3 million, and if you say we are averaging 5.7% a year, that means that your net worth just off appreciation is increasing 170,000 a year just on net worth gain of appreciation. If you just go ahead and build this out, buy three $1 million properties that are rentals, and then you're continuing to get that appreciation. That's not even including equity capture and everything else that goes along with that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I'm saying that you probably should do that. And the longer that you wait, um, especially with the market right now, I think that there's going to be a need 12 years. If we model out 12 to 18 months from now, there's going to be a need for rentals. Or sorry, not rentals. There's going to be a need for new construction in the Austin market. Oh, let's see here. Time to do Instagram ads and, and take your advice, man. Shout out to JP. Yeah, dude, JP, anything you can do to get your photos in front of people, they're going to realize there's a big difference between the product. And then also they realize that it's not that much more expensive, right? I think your prices are right in line, maybe just on the higher side for like what other people charge. But you're a 10 out of 10 and most other people are 8 at best. Thoughts on casinos coming to Texas? I could see you owning one in Austin. Man, if I owned a casino in Austin, that'd be a lot of fun. Probably be pretty dangerous, but it'd be a lot of fun. I think it's a great idea, man. Why in the hell do we not have casinos? Why do we not have legalized weed? Like, come on, guys. Like, why do we not sell booze until freaking 12 o'clock on Sundays? Well, we all know why, but I'm not gonna get myself canceled here. Are there better sites other than Zillow to find potential houses to buy? Yeah, man. I think when it comes to buying homes, Zillow is probably not the place to buy if you're looking for a deal. Having said that, if you're just starting to get in the market and you're starting to learn a market, absolutely. But deals come from those that are actually kind of have their hands in everything. And so I would say if you are looking to find a deal in real estate, work with people that are working in that world. If you're looking for somebody that can just open up a door, Zillow works. Uh, so really buying in the winter is more ideal. Yeah, dude, absolutely. I think you can get a much better deal in the winter than you can in the summer. Now, having said that, if you're a family and you're looking to have more options, I do think buying in the summer is probably a little bit better. Let's see how to pull this off without having to build a team, something more plug and play. Hit me up. I got the builder for you. I can happily plug you into the fam. That's easy. That's light work. Oh, we got Joe in. Joe, thanks for jumping in, man. Appreciate you as always. If you guys are ever out in winter, it is then look. I do think though deals are deals, right? And so you always make your money when you buy. So if it's something where your intent is to get a good deal, then just be patient. If your intent is to move because you have to move, let's say there's a couple times in my life where I've bought not necessarily because of the deal. We ended up making a bunch of money on it, but it wasn't the fact that it was the deal that I was buying. It was because I had to move my family, right? And so, for example, maybe schools come into play or needing a yard, right? When our son was born, we lived in the 37th floor of a high rise, which really worked out well for a while. But then when your son is driving around on like a little electric scooter, taking out the chip rack at Royal Blue downtown, he probably doesn't, it's not a good thing. So then you need a yard. And then, as schools became a thing, we moved over into Westlake. But I will say, if you've got somebody that can sit back and be a sniper, then be a sniper. Guys, by the way, if you're ever out in Lockhart in a barbecue fan, we got one of the main chefs of Barb's Barbecue in here. They are Michelin guide, absolutely amazing. Oh shit, my wife's here. Okay, nobody say anything bad. Well, I know it's a good deal based on the comps near the house, or how can I evaluate that before buying? So yeah, that's a great question. You'll know it's a good deal based on comps, right? So if you can say, for example, um, I've got a deal that I'm looking at right now, right, where I think it comps out at about 400,000. However, I think I can pick it up for about 225,000. And so, to me, I can look at what things are selling for on average in that area, and then I can make a decision based on that. And part of that's going to be okay if I think it's worth 400,000. Let's say it's worth 500 remodeled. It's worth 400 now. Let's say it's worth 500 remodeled. And then I'm going to have to put in how much into it to get it to that level of it being worth 500. And then at there, you're just working the numbers backwards, right? So if you're like 500, let's say it's going to cost 60. So now it's, if I get it for 400 and I put 60 into it and I sell it for 500, that's only 40,000 in profit. That's not enough when you have closing costs and potentially other things that can happen in the market. By the way, shout out to Robert. Guys, if you guys ever need anybody as a driver, Robert is amazing. He's taking care of me and a bunch of my clients. Actually, Robert, I need to talk to you. I've got some clients that are flying in from LA next weekend, and was going to see if I can work with you for the next weekend. Having said that, right? So now let's say I buy this property at 225 and I put 60 into it plus holding costs. I'm into it roughly for 300, and then if it sells for 500, once I have my closing costs and everything backed out of that, then my number, let's call, is 475. And then I'm into it, like I said, for 300. Now that's a good profit. That's 175,000 profit at that point in a 3 to 6 month window on a, let's call it, $50,000 investment. So that's an example of making your money when you buy. But also that's the difference of being a sniper versus like just jumping at every deal that gets sent to you, because are not all deals are good deals, and some of the best deals are the ones you don't do. All right, guys, thanks again. This is Paul Smith doing an AMA, stands for Ask Me Anything. We've had some great questions so far, and yeah, it's my time to sign off is right about now. I've got a call at 3 o'clock. Parker, what's good, man? Guess for you how much value make it go up after work's done. Yeah, it is, dude. It's real hard to understand. So what you do is you could look at the property. You'd want to walk it with your contractor to see roughly what your cost of remodel is going to be, and then it's just algebra, right? It's just like, okay, well, if we think a remodeled home will sell for this, and then it's going to cost me this much to fix it up. Well, how much can I pay for it versus how much am I going to profit? And then I got to assess my risk at that point. Well, guys, thanks again for tuning in today. I got to bounce out. Looking forward to next Thursday doing another AMA. Dude, those are some great questions, man. If you guys have any other additional questions, let me know. I will be hosting a live in-person investment 101 just to really just rap about real estate or really anything at that point. But if y'all have any questions, please feel free to hit me in my DMs. Thank you again. Y'all be good. Peace.